Hello, world. It's Stephanie Cmar, and I am here to tell you that I know some shit.
Exotica. Hey, everybody. I'm Joel Murphy.
And I'm Stephanie Cmar.
And this is Stephanie Knows Some Shit, where we go over the questions that you might want to Google, but you've been too afraid to, that are going to make you better in the kitchen, a better chef, a better human, maybe.
Maybe some life advice thrown in there.
Yeah, you never know. You know a lot of shit about a lot of shit.
I try.
And what is it this week that we are going to be discussing?
So this week is definitely a passion of mine, and it's how to maneuver around a grocery store, because I do not have OCD necessarily, but you get me into a grocery store and there is a method for everything I do. So I thought it would be fun for us to give everybody like sort of insight. Now, that being said, nobody's allowed to grocery shop with me because I do take it very, very seriously. Like, I go into a grocery store and I've got a whole thing, and you could bring up a random grocery store in Boston, and I definitely know somebody there that works behind the counter. I have a path that I never stray from when I go up and down the aisles, and just like a passion for labels.
Now, do you, this is a question I have right from the beginning. Do you do every aisle every time, even if you don't need anything in that aisle, or are you more focused?
Funny you should ask, Joel. I go up and down every single aisle. Okay. And my best friend Kristen and I were talking, and her wife Bianca puts her hands behind her back and goes down every aisle. And my husband David and Kristen get so annoyed with the two of us because we don't deviate. Like, your level of annoyance does not faze me. I need to go. What if I miss something?
Yeah.
The grocery store is an adult toy store if you've got a good attitude.
Now, I feel like we have to back up, because I think the question that we haven't answered yet is, how much prep work do you do before you go? Like, do you have a meticulous list, or are you going down every aisle because it's all in your head?
So, brilliant question from a brilliant man. So for my job as a private chef, it's important that I like go into people's homes with an idea of what I'm going to cook. Otherwise, it's a hot ass mess. So the night before I cook, I come up with recipes. Like, I scour the internet, like the New York Times. There's another one. There's Gimme Some Oven. Is this like cute website? I really enjoy her recipes. Epicurious.
Is that a pun? Is that supposed to be like, give me some lovin'?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely like borderline mommy blog, but I just skip over the mommy part because she does have really good like Thai and Japanese recipes. But I do go into the grocery store with an idea. Now, I do not write a list, and I typically don't look at my phone, but I sit in the Maserati for like 5 minutes before I go into the grocery store, and I just like, get a hold of what I'm going to cook, and then I go in like a bat out of hell.
I'm picturing this. I don't know if this is right, and I almost don't want you to correct me if it's not, but like, yeah, I'm picturing you like hyping yourself up. Like, you're in the driver's seat, like you're playing some rock music, you're like psyching yourself up.
Yeah. And everybody, just so you know, I didn't mean Maserati. I said Mazda Rati, the world's sexiest 36-year-old's car. It's really just a thing of beauty. I definitely have like a thing. And just so everybody literally knows my every step, I wake up, I go to get my coffee from the girl Tia. She's my angel. I call her Muffin. She calls me Pretty Princess. We have a great relationship. I call my best friend Lindsay, and then I get to the store, and now I'm all worked up because I've talked to Lindsay about like, honestly, nothing, because she's the last person other than David I talk to before I go to bed, and the first person I talk to in the morning. But I get myself geared up. Speaking of Lindsay, that was her that's calling right now.
That was good timing.
I get sort of my head in the game, what I need to buy, etc. And then I get my reusable grocery bags, which I will get to. Don't let me forget, because the reusable grocery bags are a flex and not just for the environment.
See, now I live in California where they charge you 10 cents a bag if you don't.
Us too.
Yeah. So you got to do the reusable bags.
You absolutely do. You know what? Now I can't even hold my secret. So, as I mentioned, I really appreciate like a certain level of organization when I like put the food on the conveyor belt and whatnot. And so now in 2022, we have self-checkout. And what self-checkout enables me to do is organize my groceries in the bag itself. And I don't know if anybody's tried to double bag a paper bag, but it's like not cute. And like, I always rip one. It's a mess. So that's why I really bring in my reusable groceries. And David and I have gotten into like really awkward fights in front of people on the way he puts things on conveyor belts. Because I'm like, you have to respect every ingredient. Like you throw it, rude. Like you have to put it down, and then like shapes and sizes and stuff. I don't know. I'll talk to my therapist about it on Monday.
It is fascinating, the self-checkout, though, too, because I feel like that because I enjoy it, but then I'm like, this is a great scam that grocery stores have pulled off on all of us, because they've tricked us into doing the work that they would pay someone for, but in a way that it is kind of fun.
It's so fun. And I actually know the SKU codes for like a few things. So like lemons, as long as they're conventional. And the difference, just so everybody knows, the difference if you ever see like conventional grapes versus organic grapes, conventional grapes would be the not organic ones. So they're always 4 digits. And then anything organic is like, I think it's 6 or 7 digits. So like a conventional lemon is 4053. Pistachios, 6667.
Oh, wow.
Those are the only 2 I know.
That's still impressive. And the great thing is you could be making those up and I have no way of knowing it, but it sounded really impressive.
Oh, no. So. And I thought that every grocery store like made up their own SKU codes.
Standard.
Universal.
Okay. All right. Well, now I've saved myself tenths of seconds if I'm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Buying pistachios.
I feel like. But I think that it's like there's so much interesting stuff about a grocery store. Like there's just the way, do you know, in every like produce section at night, they have to take that whole thing apart.
Would take what thing apart?
Like the displays that aren't refrigerated. They have to take like every single apple.
What?
Out of the displays. Yes. Can you imagine a worse job?
No.
My friend Shelton works at the Whole Foods in Linfield. He's such a saint. And he's somebody I met at the grocery store who became like an actual friend. Like we text and share recipes and just like, I almost had him go check on my parents one day. That's how close we are.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But yeah, he like explained to me that was part of his job. And I was like, you mean y'all put every apple facing me with like the stem side out, and then you have to put them all back without bruising them. I was like, oh, so that's why I respect the whole grocery store operation.
Yeah. No, it's what I still remember. I don't know if you have these, like, I remember as a kid, like it blew my mind when you would go to get the milk, and sometimes you'd catch a glimpse of the people that live behind the milk. Which is always how it seemed as a kid, like that they just exist there, and then they would it would be rare, but every once in a while you'd catch them like adding milk from the secret back room. And I was very fascinated by the secret back room as a kid. Like
what goes on back there?
Right? Yeah.
What goes on? There's actually a viral TikToker, and I watch it on Instagram because I've like aged out of whatever TikTok is, but it's a guy who's like restocking the milk, and he's got a squirt gun. So like a kid will come up to like grab a milk and he like sprays them.
That's great.
I was like, that would be me.
Yeah.
That would be me. It's a whole different universe. And I think it's really cool because I don't know, like another podcast that I really love is Guy Raz, How I Built This. And he talks just about like the products and what it takes to get these products in the grocery store. And it makes me appreciate everything so much, from like the packaging to the concept to the distributors. And then you've got things that are imported and like what it takes for these people to do it. Nobody can see my face, but I'm getting so passionate and worked up about this.
By the way,
like,
you would have loved my grandfather so much because he was a retired Air Force colonel. And I have these memories of when I was a kid. He wanted, because again, a lot of like his job was efficiency. Like he would be sent to bases and he would look around and try to fix whatever was going on. So he would teach me that as a kid. He would take me to like a grocery store and he'd be like, what's wrong here? What could be more efficient? Like, why should they have more checkout aisles open? Like what the way these are arranged, do they make sense? So he just like, that was his favorite thing in the world, was to go into a grocery store, any kind of store, and just in his mind figure out, if he was in charge, how he would set everything up.
I love that.
It was
and
great.
That's another thing, like with the grocery store, I think everybody can equate it to like a really good childhood memory. Like I know my favorite place as a kid way before I even knew what cooking was. Like I thought it was just like spaghetti. That was cooking, just the word spaghetti. But my mom used to take me and we used to go, it was a Star Market in Marblehead or Swampscott. And they had this tiny little hill. It wasn't even a hill. It was literally like something so that the sidewalk didn't just end and like your grocery cart went flying off of it. And my mom's amazing, but she's not like one to like go wild in certain situations. But she used to stand on the grocery cart and she'd be like, "Are you kids ready for the big hill?" And we would like zoom down the 2 feet that it took. But even as a young age, like I could still tell you the way that grocery store was set up. Like 25, 30 years later.
It's funny with my mom, she used to drive me crazy in grocery stores because my mom is one of those people that everywhere she goes, she will make a new best friend where she would share her entire life story, which but when you're a kid, and you just want to go home and my mom is like in the line telling, no, tell this lady about like your school play.
Yes, this is just like when my brother Wyatt took Chinese Mandarin in college, and we as a family like have a tradition of going out for Chinese food on Christmas Day. And my mother, after Wyatt had been taking Mandarin for like a year, made Wyatt order everything in Mandarin.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It was very, very cute. But Wyatt was like, "Mom, really?" But yeah, I'm glad that your mom makes friends at the grocery store because so do I.
You'd probably be friends with my mom at the grocery store. If you
I know, we could just tell each other our stories.
Yep.
I would probably spare a lot of people because I'm like, "Do you want to hear about this?" And they're like, "No, please move along."
All right. So we've covered. So you get in the parking lot, you get hyped up. I
get hyped up.
Then you go in.
I look at what I need to buy more or less. And then I get my reusable bags. Now I go in. And for everybody that's like listening to this right now and being like, "This sounds nuts," it literally never deviates from what I'm about to tell you. I always grab the grocery cart with the 2 levels. You know what I mean? It's like the shorter carriage that has like, you can put your groceries on the top and the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
And I do that because sometimes I'm shopping for like, I never shop for myself. Like I'm good on tortilla chips. But when I'm shopping for my clients and whatnot, sometimes I need to do 2 different shops in the same trip so I can separate them that way.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Or like, what if you grab the package of like juicy chicken? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that on my mango.
No,
I don't want that. So that's the cart that I always get. And then now it depends on the store, but I always go in one of 2 directions. Now you always have your produce to one side, and then the other side is either your prepared foods attached to your meat or like the wine and cheese part. So I like to go to the one that I need the least of because I'm not going to forget it. Right. And like, I feel like when you've got a big list and you're kind of overwhelmed, grabbing the things that you could forget quickly is the move.
Yeah. Because you're tired by the end, but then you have to get all the stuff. Yeah.
It's also, nobody realizes, but it's like really fucking sensory overload.
They're all very like bright. Every grocery store has that like fluorescent lighting. Like it's very bright and yeah,
Absolutely.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorite moments in New Orleans on Top Chef wasn't actually like anything that had to do with the competition, but we were in a Whole Foods and they needed to hold us before we like did something else, like checkout or whatever. And we actually had an aerial view of the Whole Foods, and it just, your perspective's totally changed. Like, you're like, wow. And there's actually like, for any young people that are listening to it, these are real jobs. There are people who actually forecast, plan, and strategize what they're going to put at the end of each aisle, which I think is so fascinating. Like the person that's like, you know what would sell really well here? Chicken stock.
Oh, wow.
That's their job.
That would have been my grandfather. I think that would have been when he retired from the Air Force. I think that would have been a good move for him.
That would have been nice for him. And they also, the reason why Whole Foods doesn't put aisle numbers up is because if you're like, where are the tortilla chips? They'll be like, oh, you need to take a left at the salsas. Now you're getting tortilla chips. Somebody just said salsa in the back of your brain. So it's actually like identifying another product and like maybe jumping their sales.
This is also, you're describing this like it's a casino. Like, you know why they don't have clocks? You don't have clocks or like windows at a Whole Foods. It's because they want you to lose track of time. You know, like that's what you're describing.
This is my casino.
Yeah. I'm curious too, because you mentioned Top Chef. So like anyone who watches Top Chef, that's always a big part of it is you're going to have the, you know, part where you go to the grocery store and you have to be under budget. And so like, did all of these skills, how did that play for you? Like this grocery store shopping, was it different on the show or was it just like that was your wheelhouse?
No, actually, one of the questions that I get asked most frequently is like, is 30 minutes enough? And I'm always like, it was more than enough time because you're only going in with one recipe. You've obsessed about it, maybe the whole car ride there plus holding, or maybe the night before. And you go in. And once you go into a grocery store, and I don't know if it's just because it's my profession, you kind of know where everything else is.
Yeah.
And it was strategy, though, because bitches be ruthless. So if you wanted black cod, for example, this happened in LA all the time. Gregory loved a black cod. But let's say I wanted it too. We would be throwing bows to fight to get to that fish section so that we could make sure we had enough. That was more of the stress from grocery shopping there. Which
I feel like the protein would probably be the most important part because everything else you can started. Yeah, because everything else you can kind of, they're going to have whatever, you know, other ingredients, but you got to get that protein first.
If you look at my LA, like all the challenges and whatnot, I did a lot of vegetarian food because I was like, that's just not where I'm cutthroat.
Yeah.
I couldn't fight people for that. And like, what if you wanted duck and they have no duck? It's not like you can just sub turkey. It's a whole situation.
Yeah, I feel like there would be a lot of on the fly, sometimes having to change based on the grocery store. Like you have a plan for the thing you're going to make, but then, they don't have the protein. They don't have the produce, whatever. And then now you got to really, because I did notice that that's always the mistake where it's like, if you watch enough Top Chef, where you're too experienced as a viewer, where the person's like, I'll just get frozen. They won't notice. Or like, I'll get instant. And you're like, dude, you're going home. Like
you can't do that.
Yeah. Like
you can't do that.
I think these professional judges will not notice if it's frozen.
Yeah. And not even like IQF frozen, like actually like de-thawed and then frozen. That was always definitely like a very tricky part of it. And like, you can't pivot that easily when the grocery store doesn't have something.
Yeah.
It's like, and the thing, not to give away all of Top Chef's secrets, but they don't prep the grocery store. Like, yes, they say like, we're filming here at this time, but it's not like they're like, oh, Top Chef's coming in. Let's make sure we have an abundance of all this food. It's literally a Wednesday for them.
And are there other people in the store when you're in there?
Yes, I get that question all the time. So the people you see in the grocery store are people. They're shopping. So they have PAs running around getting them to sign. consent forms. And this is terrible. And I feel bad for the girl because I literally looked at her. But so I'm shopping on Top Chef. It's like episode 6 or 7. So it's been a hot minute. You know what I mean? Like my face hasn't changed that much. And I'm shopping and this girl who's a PA, she like puts out her hand and she's like, ma'am. And already I'm annoyed because I'm like, it's miss.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Now I feel old and I'm like crotchety and angry and I'm also stressed. And she's like, can you come around the corner? And I'm like looking around and she's like, please come around the corner. And she's super like aggressive about it. She thought I was just a regular shopper.
Oh, no.
And I was like, does anybody see what's happening to me? Like I was personally attacked by this situation.
That's one of there's that celebrity move that no one should ever do. But I feel like that might actually be the one time that I think you're allowed to say, do you know who I am? Like
the poor girl was like chastised for the entire time.
No.
I still remember what she looks like. And I was like, I'm sorry if I was rude, but you know, there's only like 8 of us here. So I just figured whatever.
We Have to Ask. It's a podcast where we answer the question, are you going to eat that?
What will you leave behind?
Why get out of bed?
Will you be our neighbor?
I'm Marty.
And I'm Jonathan.
We're 2 hosts.
Infinite universes.
We have to ask.
New interviews every Tuesday.
Find us on iTunes or online at wehavetoask.com or with the other great podcasts on the Peaksloft Network at peaksloft.com.
By the way, I wondered this too. How often are you going to the grocery store? Like with your...
I go to, this is so embarrassing. I go to the grocery store probably 5 to 6 times a week.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's such a place that I love that I go like, this is so nerdy. You know, I'll be like, I'm not really feeling this grocery store's layout today. I'll go to this one. Or I don't know. It's my mall. It's my casino. I have grocery stores where if I'm in a rush, I'll go to we have a place called Hannaford's, which is just like your regular grocery store, like suburban grocery store, whatever. There's 2 of them. So if I'm in a rush, I'll go to one. If I'm not in a rush, I'll go to the other. And then we have Whole Foods up here. But like if I'm shopping for myself, I don't know if anybody's seen gas prices, but I am on a budget.
Yeah, I'm not going to Whole Foods. I'm not rich. Like I
am not that.
Yeah.
I am not that.
Yeah.
That's what my clients get because they are.
right. No, but
I don't know how else to put it. Like they have that Whole Foods budget. I'm like a step away from Price Savers.
Yeah, here we have Sprouts, which is like Whole Foods but affordable. Like it's like
I love that.
Yeah, they actually have fresh produce and everything, but you can, you don't have to take a second mortgage to like.
Dude, it's out. David came home, and I'm sorry, I have so much energy because I love this topic. But David came home 2 days ago, and he was cooking for clients, and he was so excited that kale was on sale.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I think he saved $10, like using Amazon Prime, like the code and whatnot. And he was like, "It's a good day," but it's so expensive.
Oh yeah. All right. So you're there. So are you going multiple times in one day?
I try not to.
Okay. Yeah. Because 5 or 6 times. Yeah.
I used to do it and you just suffer from like a burnout kind of like it wasn't fun on the second go round. So I like to go 1 per day and I do stay pretty organized and like on task when I get there.
So what are your like staples? Like what's the stuff that you always have to get that you're always stocked?
Okay. Great question. I always need agave nectar because it sweetens food without that sugary sweetness. Now, everything that I'm about to say, I do not know if it's good for you. I don't know if it's healthy. And to be honest, my only real concern is flavor. So take it with a grain of salt and like, do you? Better Than Bouillon is this like, it's like a bouillon paste. That's actually the brand of it. They have flavors from like chicken, beef, caramelized onion, mushroom, lobster, ham. It's almost like MSG-esque, but without the MSG. Like if you buy chicken broth and you're making chicken noodle soup and you taste it and you're like, well, this kind of tastes like essence of chicken water. A little Better Than Bouillon just like crushes it. Hellman's mayonnaise. Controversial because I know everybody has like a mayonnaise that they love, but Whole Foods doesn't have it. I just got closer to the microphone. This is my biggest secret.
Yeah.
Do not buy the organic one. It tastes weird.
Yeah.
So I'll go to like a normal grocery store for that. I always have soy sauce or tamari. I love peeled garlic and peeled shallots. I do not want to peel all of that, especially in the quantity that I use it. So that's a bit of a time saver for me. And lemons, 4053. I use a lot of lemons because I have clients who like are salt sensitive for whether it be blood pressure or preference, and acidity can act in the place of salt as a flavor enhancer. So I like to have that. And then there's always what David and I fondly refer to as the oh shit thing that I just like panic buy, which is typically like an avocado or a jalapeno. Scallions somehow end up in that mix quite often. But the things that I have to have are all pretty much non-perishables.
Do you have so I have a tendency is there anything that you buy every time and then you have 6 of them? Like you keep buying, you think you need it?
Yes. Miso paste. Mm-hmm. Because for some reason I can never fathom the fact that I only used a tablespoon last time.
Yeah.
Grapeseed oil or vegetable oil or canola oil is something where like if you run out mid cooking, there's no substitute. Like you can't just make oil out of something else. Kate's unsalted butter. I like that brand.
Okay.
I do get annoyed that the tin, like the paper tin foil around the stick of butter is always like kind of trapped in the butter, but I let it go because Kate does a good job. And then I always buy, it's either parchment paper, tin foil, or plastic wrap because we're always running out of one of that.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are my mains.
Do you ever buy salted butter? I've never understood the purpose of salted butter.
Dude, nothing is better than a French baguette with salted butter.
Okay. All right. So
and I used to call them fatty sandwiches because I used to do it with cornbread when I worked at this bar called Maddie's Sail Loft. It was the greatest job in the entire world. Or it wasn't, but I was 21 and I worked at a bar making hamburgers. It was great. But I used to take the foil packet, the gold ones that they give to you at certain fast casual places. And I used to sandwich a piece of cold butter between cold cornbread, because I love the texture of butter. But salted butter and bread is so good. The reason why I don't buy salted butter is because, especially for baking, if you don't realize it's salted. Oh,
yeah, you're done. Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
I forget what I made, but I made something so inedible and we couldn't figure out why. And we got home and looked at what could have gone wrong. It's I basically put a tablespoon where a quarter teaspoon was called.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. Since
you mentioned the treats kind of thing, now that has me wondering too, do you have any, you said you're mostly shopping for your clients, but I don't know. This is my relatable question for you of is there any garbage thing that you buy for yourself? What's your snack food?
I don't think you and I have talked about my passion, which are car snacks.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Things I buy for car snacks. There's a brand. This is the only not trashy one, and then I'm going to get dirty.
Okay. Yeah.
Quinn's peanut butter filled pretzels. That's the brand. I think they're gluten free and incorporate veggies in them, whatever. They're so crunchy and so salty and the best. They're so amazing. So I buy those. And now let's get to the trash. Normally these are purchased at Home Goods, Walmart, or it's always the Easter candy or the Halloween candy that I get.
Yes.
Teriyaki beef jerky.
Oh, okay. That was not what I was expecting when you said Easter candy, but yeah.
No, we're going to get there because it's what I've been living off of today. Then I always, and this is my healthy car snack, olives in the They're like snacking olives and they come in like a fruit cup thing.
Okay.
Just those. I buy the non-refrigerator needed pepperoni
Okay.
that we used to feed the family dog Spencer. But just in cases, I have that. I always have some sort of weird holistic energy drink that I just move from like car to car. I never drink it, but I'm like, what if I'm thirsty? And then we have what I truly feel good about. Now, if my friend Anne has not given me cookies, she's an amazing baker and she always like, she gets in my car and she's like, here's some cookies, and they like sustain me. Right now, I went to Home Goods yesterday and paid $12 for an industrial size bag of pretty shitty chocolate tiramisu truffles.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
They're so good.
Yeah.
I worked out today and most people like grab a smoothie and I ate some truffles and drank my black coffee and I was like, I'll live forever. Skittles.
Yes.
Sour gummies.
By the way, like, since you mentioned Skittles, this has been a big thing for me. I was very upset when lime disappeared and it is now back in the Skittles. And I'm very happy that lime has returned because green apple was terrible.
Green apple's terrible.
Yeah. So I was very excited. I boycotted Skittles for a while until I saw that they were advertising for me specifically return of lime green. Yeah.
Here is back.
Yep.
My brother Wyatt and I, we can crush a Skittle.
Yeah, no, Skittles. Yeah, that's like such a childhood. Like that was because I don't know if you had that when my parents every once in a while, not often because we didn't have a lot of money, but like if you were good and you got to pick out something, if you went with like my mom and she would like Skittles were always the go-to.
I also loved a Butterfinger.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Butterfinger Sprite.
Yeah, the one now that we have a lot that's like the trash thing is Reese's. Like those. That's what I thought you were going to say with the Halloween candy. Those Halloween bags of Reese's. Those.
Dude, they get me.
Yep.
I just recently, the car snacks are such an important part of my life that I went to Walmart and bought one of those behind the seat trash cans. So like I can't see the evidence of how many snacks I eat in the car.
See, you've given a lot of great tips on this episode. That might be the best one. That's the one out of everything that you've said that I'm like, that's what I need. I need that.
It is a game changer. Game changer.
I need it so I can shamefully put all my trash behind the seat. Yes.
Well, otherwise I'm like crumpling them up into a little ball and like throwing them under my seat. And I'm like, nobody will know. Everybody knows.
Yeah. I put them in the door. Sometimes a little space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's not
definitely. So that's just like a little bit of my trashy snacks. We all have them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the tiramisu truffle thing. That sounds so fancy. Like,
dude, Home Goods.
Yeah,
I know I wax poetic about Home Goods quite a bit, but you can like really get anything there.
What I learned is I got to become friends with your friend who makes cookies. Like that's the trick.
Anne.
Yeah, Anne.
She's so amazing. And they're even like a little healthy.
Oh.
Like not because it's a cookie, but like.
Yeah. Healthier.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else? Did we cover grocery? I feel like we're going to have to do a follow-up grocery store.
I know because I'm just telling you my stories right now.
But is there anything else before we get to the end here? Is there that we haven't mentioned that you want to say about grocery stores?
You know, one thing, and this goes back to like the lemons and avocados, the reason why, and I do not shame anybody for using like the Prime shoppers or the Instacart shoppers, but there's something beautiful about choosing your perfect tomato, perfect avocado and whatnot.
You got to squeeze.
So I always just like, there's so much like tactile enjoyment in a grocery store. I really enjoy it. So that's sort of my thing. Like there's so much you can enjoy about a grocery store. Even if you don't like grocery shopping, once you start to get into it, it's super fun. And then I guess my parting thing about the grocery store, and this is something that my mom like ingrained in me growing up. She was a flight attendant, so she always had a name tag on. And she sort of like always made me like say thank you with the name of the person that's helping me. And I feel like that just makes the experience feel better. So like there's a woman, Gloria, and I always choose her line. And like just by knowing her name, it's like, we're in this together, Gloria.
Nice. Yeah. Do they do that like Some of those grocery stores, they'll, if you have like the Savers card or whatever, they'll look at your name and say it back to you.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good move. Yeah.
The only issue is like my debit card definitely says David's first and last name. Long story. I'm going to fix it. But I've definitely been called David a few times and I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
All right. Well, David, we like to end the show by sharing. As history has served us, it seems to be a story where you end up in the ER. But
This is not one.
Okay, good.
I have never gone from the grocery store to the ER.
That's good.
Which is shocking.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. But so I've kind of like implied to you how important the grocery store is to me and how much I enjoy it. So last October, David and I were in the process. We had put a bid or whatever you call it on the house. And we were supposed to find out if we got the house, if they accepted our offer. Neither of us remembered this at all. Like, didn't remember when John was going to be calling us, did not remember a thing. So I'm standing in the grocery store amongst the potatoes and I get a phone call and I'm like, oh, Jesus. And it's John, who was in the process of selling the house. And he's like, are you sitting down? And I was like, dude, I'm in the grocery store. He's like, all right, can you pull off to the side? And I'm like, I don't know about this. And he's like, you got the house. And this was at a moment where David and I were still just toying with the funny idea of being adults and buying a house and didn't know where like the money was going to come from or whatever. And I literally like yelped so loud that the entire grocery store turned around and then I burst into tears.
Oh, no.
So people are like, are you okay, miss, ma'am? And this is like, we're all in masks and I'm like making a big deal and people are just like already in panic mode. And I'm like, so basically I found out that we got the offer for the house in the grocery store. And it was just the place I was most comfortable in. And I was like, life is good. Life is meant to be.
As a bunch of people were looking at you like, that lady's really upset about those potatoes. I don't know.
Yeah, they were like, is she okay? And I was like, and I'm like screaming and I'm like telling John how amazing he is and how much I love him. But then I'm also like, David's going to be so excited. So I'm like talking to two dudes and just like incorporating names and everything. It was a whole situation, but it worked out well. And I didn't end up in the hospital.
That's good.
The other story I have to tell is how many times I have left my car keys in the ignition.
Oh, no.
And just gone into the grocery store.
Oh, no.
And nobody's ever stolen my car.
That's good.
Just walk out of it.
I thought you were going to say like you locked your keys in your car with the groceries.
No, just kept it running.
Just kept it running. No one cares.
And not in nice neighborhoods.
I think, you know what it is? I think they think it's a setup. I think they see the car running and they're like, come on.
It's too good to be true.
Yeah, there's a cop around the corner. And the second I get behind this wheel, they're just pulling me over. This is a sting operation.
All they'd be getting are like some really sick car snacks.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's why like now if I pass your car, I'm popping in because like I'm getting those tiramisu truffles. And
as soon as we finish this, I'm going downstairs to the car and getting another one.
No, I really want to buy these. This is what I've gotten from this. Like,
they're so good.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I feel like we only scratched the surface. We're gonna have to do another grocery store episode for sure. Like, I don't feel like we covered it thoroughly enough.
No, just my passion. We covered the passion part, not the logistics.
Yeah, we'll get into the logistics, and obviously, if people are listening and maybe they have specific things they want to know, well, we can follow up on that on a future episode.
Hit us up and ask your questions because Joel and I love the sound of our voices, so we would love to tell you all the answers.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that we both get to talk, and then if you want us to talk about specific things, for sure, but we're going to talk regardless,
no matter what.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joel.
And so that's going to do it for us.
And don't forget, if you're confused, we probably are too, but together we can hopefully figure it out.
Stephanie Knows Some Shit is hosted by Stephanie Cmar and me, Joel Murphy, and produced by me. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and instead of a review, tell us about a meal that you ate or made recently. We'd love to read about it.
In a world where people watch movies,
I think I'm going to watch a movie.
sometimes they don't like what they see,
I don't like this movie.
but sometimes they look for the silver lining.
Wait a second. I like this part of this movie.
Joel and Andy do that work for you. The Silver Linings Playback.
I like this part of this podcast where they tell me the part of the movie I like.
Every Monday on the Peak Sloth Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.